Ladies and gentlemen, got back from Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. I think they got something they want to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. Washington, D.C. I think they got something they want to say.
Welcome back to another episode. Once again, I'm your host, Kerstyn, and I have my co-host with me, the lovely
Maxine, the Democratic wildcard. Hey, everyone.
Yeah.
Hello. Is everybody's favorite conservative in New York, Christopher Wright?
And we are the Politricks Podcast. Today is episode 15, everybody. Like, this is...
Milestone? Is that kind of like
flying,
a milestone, I think?
It's like our quinceañera.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means, but that's
Of course not. You wouldn't know. Of course not. Yeah.
You want everybody to speak English.
Yes.
Yes,
He's probably upset that I even said that word.
I thought we were in America.
It's awesome. So thanks everyone for listening and sharing the podcast and leaving comments. Please continue to share it with friends and family. Follow us on Politricks Podcast on Instagram, Twitter. We're Politricks Pod. Find us on YouTube. And if you're listening on YouTube right now, please hit subscribe, leave a comment, and hit like. We're working on getting some up. I think we're a little behind on some episodes on YouTube.
Yeah.
We're working on getting all that stuff fixed also. But in the meantime, you can also continue to listen to us. We're on Spotify, Soundcloud, and the Anchor app.
Share.
Yes,
Share.
please help. Help us.
Share.
Yeah, help this. This podcast is really, we're getting a lot of people all over the world, all over the United States. Our third best city, our best state is
The best.
yeah, is Texas, which is
all of Chris's people.
My Lone Star people.
Right. So we're trying to get in every single state. So continue to share with friends and continue supporting us. We appreciate it. But today we have a special guest here in the studio. We have Miss Scherie Murray. Scherie is a Republican community leader, former communications chair for Queens County GOP, and is a 3-time standard bearer. Welcome, Scherie. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Pleasure to have you.
We cannot wait to hear from you.
Yes.
Definitely.
Hey, Maxine.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, she's down with the Republican Party. So this is an even split today.
Yes.
Oh yeah. How do you feel, Chris?
Hey, 2-on-2. Finally got a little backup here.
I mean, we also had. Well, then he wasn't. Carl wasn't a traditional
but
Republican.
he supported Trump.
Yeah,
at one point.
That's true.
What did he vote for?
No, he was.
Because now he's
Andrew
Yang.
He's
So
Yang
he's
Gang
back
now.
on the Democratic side.
I see. That's
But
true.
she's the true
Got
GOP.
it. Got it. And you still are Trump.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
All day, every day. Trump
As he wears his red
2020,
shirt.
by the way.
Okay. So, so we're happy to have her here, and we're looking forward to getting into some topics with her, and also discussing some of these. We like to get, as you guys know, we like to get different sides of everybody's opinion. We enjoy that. We enjoy, debating about different issues, and it's important for us to listen to each other. So we're happy to have her, and we're going to get into all that stuff. But before that, I want to know how everybody's week was. How was your week?
My week was crazy, and it shouldn't be because my kids are not here.
Yeah, you should. You should be having a hot girl summer.
No, not yet. Not yet. Maybe next week when I'm on the beach in Bermuda. But so as I mentioned, July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm doing like a couple of speaking events. Literally just came from one in Harlem with NAMI or NAMI, however you say it. People say it differently. So it's been really crazy busy. Shouldn't be. But tomorrow, by the way, I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning, leaving at 6 a.m., driving almost 3 hours to the Catskills to a Buddhist monastery where I will be zenning away everything I went through this week.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious, girl.
So-
I'm doing a lot of self-care stuff.
Wow.
I'm doing a lot. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
So.
Wow, that's
yeah.
I don't
That's
know if
definitely
that's pretty cool. I was like, I might think I'm going to go home and watch TV for a bit.
Might hit the Home Depot.
That's okay too.
Nothing wrong with that.
Get some
I'm just trying to
self-care.
make the best use of my time.
Totally.
Yeah.
You've gotta make sure you take care of yourself.
Definitely.
How about you, Chris? How was your?
It was a good week. It was July 4th week. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to DC. Like I wanted to, but I was moving again. So I got I moved to my new place, and it turned out pretty good because, of course, people out in different states know New York is crazy rent here, so people usually get roommates renting here. So I've been 3 places in 4 months, and a place I moved into. Oh yeah, this is because New York roommates, man. Jeez. So the final place I moved, this guy I met, and when he saw me, he said, "Man, where do I know you from?" And I'm like, the Vice video? He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I seen you. Yeah. He's like, I was in Colorado a year. I've been here for a year. He's out from Colorado. He said, I watched your Vice debate, and then I watched your videos. You do the walking through the city thing. And I'm like, yeah, the walking talks. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, yeah, I've always been Democrat, but I'm going to vote Trump for the first time next election.
What?
He's like, I'm thinking more conservative.
Kerstyn, we got to work harder, girl.
He's going to law school. He works for a firm now, but he's going to school to be a law school to get his master's degree to become a lawyer. And he says he wants to become a lawyer so he can go work on the border and secure the border. Go fight to secure the border.
And you happen to end up with him in the same apartment.
Yeah, I was like, it's like meant to happen, man. I was like, yo, this is good.
Match made in heaven.
Definitely, man, definitely. So I'm going to get him on a video, I think, speaking about, the whole pandering issue that the Democrats are doing towards Hispanics.
Okay.
Get him talking about that.
Gosh. How was your week?
It's been a busy week for me, just in addition to being a mom.
Tell it, girl.
Yeah, that's always a handful. Lending myself to the community, that's always another thing. But this week specifically, I really had some big decisions in front of me, some great opportunities presented my way. So I had to make, I think, what is going to be the decision of my life so far, right?
Wow.
And so, yeah, all great things in all of our directions. So
Someone gonna run for office?
Why would you say that?
Because I know. I could tell.
I kind of got that. She was dropping those.
It's
hints.
in the air.
Yeah.
Everyone's.
We need more black candidates running as Republicans in New York City. We definitely need that. So we need
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome, definitely, because it's a voice that's starting to get heard, but there's not any black people being a part of that voice. So we need to get some candidates. I need to back them up too. CRA, Conservative Republican Alliance people. I got my group, and we need candidates to back up. So definitely.
Cool. Are we getting the campaign cabinet going right now?
I'm like, hint.
We're not going to be there. Y'all two can connect.
I think this is an opportunity for a really honest discussion because you just said we're not going to. And if I can probe, I know I'm here to sort of be the one to get the layers peeled back, but I think this is a great opportunity for us to have this conversation as African Americans on opposing sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
Why is it so easy to just say, oh, we're not going to be there? You know me, you know Chris, and so as people, would you be there for us as people? Let's take the party ideologies out of
It's a
it.
deep question.
Very true.
I think, yes. I think I could say that.
Okay, so I want you on the campaign team.
No. I support
I like
She
that.
went a little too far.
Yeah, work that in.
That
there.
was
I like that.
you took it. No, we'll support. I know.
Yeah.
And knowing you
But you
and knowing
said
me.
no.
I feel-
before-
I think she
before
meant
you
it.
What
did
I'm trying to
anything.
get at is I think it's important, like Chris was saying, not just regardless of the color of your skin, but I support anyone who feels moved enough to not just be in the community, but do something about it, have their voice heard, and whatever they consider to be the representation or constituents, to support them and stand up for them. If that's what you're doing, I support that. That's what I'm trying to get at. But at the same time, we've talked many, many times on this podcast about how we do feel there's a lot of problems in our party, and we feel we're unique in the sense that we're going to say that. We're going to call it out. But at the same time, just where we land on the issues and the policies, we just don't align to Trump's policies and the Republican
I'm not
Party.
Trump.
Well, I'm just saying, or the conservatism as it stands, or
We're talking about each other, though. So
Yeah.
I kind of hinted at something. It's taking us down this road of really that personable conversation as African Americans.
Yeah.
So to deflect to the president is not fair to me, right? Because we're talking to me as a person.
I just mean like conservatism.
Well, with me,
if you would be a Republican candidate.
I get what she's saying. I think she's kind of saying because you know her, you know what I mean? You're in the political arena, you've got political connections. She's wondering, wouldn't that make, just off of the strength of personality, the friendship, knowing each other, working with each other, or you've been on the same panels and stuff. So for her, she's saying, why wouldn't you as a Democrat want to stand beside her?
Because technically we're supposed to do that as a country.
It's a good question. It's a good question. It's a good. I don't know.
And that's the problem with our community. I'm sorry, Maxine, just to jump in.
One time we did do an event together. Mm-hmm. Well, it was her event, but she asked me to participate.
Sure.
And I remember her saying like, wow, I'm surprised that you like want to hang out with me or be around me, or like you're okay with this. Mm-hmm. And I said, at the end of the day, we have a goal here, which is to talk about mental health in the community, Black community. Why does politics matter at that point? It doesn't. Let's put that aside and let's do our thing.
Let me just jump in. To be a Black woman in a predominantly Democratic community, I'm often ostracized.
Yeah, she has
So it's not the norm for someone to just be well engaged and not think that there's some, I don't want to be associated with this person because of conservatism.
Right.
You can't really deflect your disdain to conservatism. I'm a moderate Republican.
Yeah.
There are ideologies that we agree with.
Yeah.
I hosted a mental health event featuring Dr. Jeff Gardier. I don't know what side of the aisle he's on.
Right.
But he was our keynote, and including yourself with your tenacity and in your experiences, certainly wanted to bring that to the table and partner community resources, the community, to talk about mental health and wellness, and to target our Black men specifically. So those issues of politics were put to the side.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you accepted the invitation, because that's the ignorance in our community. And I think this podcast allows us to really have that honest conversation. I'm still waiting for, and I think we'll talk offline about that because it was so quick. You didn't ask what my policies were. You didn't ask.
She's right. She's right. You're totally right.
You didn't come at me like, okay, well, let me hear you out, girl. We've been down this road. You just deflected to conservatism.
I think just to be fair.
Well, thank you for the awareness.
I think to be fair, she's your friend until she's going to have to
run for office.
Well, get you. Like, she's not going to help you get into the party that opposes her views, right?
But so the party that I'm in, I am of that party that can champion issues that we are in alignment with.
Well, but then you'd have to do it. You'd have to do it on her terms too. Because
I don't think so. You have to penetrate the party that you want the change in. I don't know if you guys are aware of the history of the Republican Party, but it was started as an anti-slavery movement.
He said that.
Thank you.
He says that narrative is being buried, and it's not being talked about.
But we can't keep bringing that up because
we should bring it up
because it doesn't mean anything.
Our party, and we don't do anything to take it back when it comes to ideology. When it comes to policy.
I think. Okay, so before we get into that, because we're getting into I do want to get into topics. I want to go into topics, but I do agree with you that people need to know that, because you just need to know your history. Period.
That means in school
just know your history. Period. You know what I mean? Like, when you look up like some of these, like I looked up some of these, like the first like Black politicians, and they're all Republican. I was like, wow. Imagine if people knew that. That was like senators, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Even further, our founding fathers like Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, and even if you fast forward to civil rights, Dr. Martin Luther King, he aligned himself with the Republican Party, and that's how we got our Civil Rights Act.
I think you're absolutely right,
but I do able to better articulate our African American history and our relationship with the Republican Party, so we can start to see ideologies that reflect us coming out of the party, because it's not there now.
But how does that serve because what you're saying is right now we have to worry about like the issues at hand.
Yeah.
And if the Democrats are looking to appease those issues for the people of color, then that's the party that people of color are going to try to fix. Like, that's what we're going to be involved with. But that's the ones we're going to support.
With that
we can't get ourselves. We don't have the luxury of now we're going to try to infiltrate a new party and try to they've already taken over that party. The line's been drawn.
Who is they?
Well, I think I think the majority of the red states kind of, show where most people kind of.
Well, most of the country is white.
Yeah.
So most of the Democrats are white too.
True. That's true.
True. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I mean, we're only make 16%.
Your top two candidates right now are white people.
13%.
Hello, Democrats.
I know.
But yet we're racist, hot Nazis, and
No.
I
don't think.
And they.
But you also they're they because
no, we're two black.
I know a lot of Hispanic.
Well, you guys are different. That's why we're here having the conversation.
No, we're not different from.
I became different the moment I said I'm a conservative. I'm voting for Trump. That's when I got X'd off by my family members.
That's when you became different.
I became Hitler to my family. Literally overnight. They love me to death, and then they hate my guts. Like, how'd you guys do that over me saying I like a guy named Trump?
Hold on, Chris.
That's crazy.
Let's just bring it back real quick.
Yeah.
A lot of times you reference, I think you call them rhinos, or sometimes you say certain portion of the Republican Party that you don't like or you don't associate with or isn't welcoming of you. So, like, I don't know if maybe when you say they, those kind of traditional, I don't know, maybe last 50, 60 year type of Republicans, would you say that they do kind of exist in some of their ideals?
That's why I was mentioning earlier that where, there's the new wave of conservatism is happening here in New York City. And there's people starting to usher it in.
Well, maybe there needs to be a party that kind of
I think it's a new wave of every...
a new party. Because, like, that's on the Democratic side, there's a new wave. On the Republican side, there's a new wave.
People have talked about, like, and you say this all the time, changing up the parties.
Like, maybe there's a third party. Maybe we've talked about how the binary system does not work for everybody. It just doesn't. So for me, I can't say I'm going to stand with Republicans and go and support them and be the only black person there. And the things that they're talking about, I don't relate to them. The people that are around me, I don't relate to them. To me,
that's when you butt Republicans together.
Yeah,
when
because
you start to peel back the layers of an individual person or candidate, as we started in this dialogue, then I think you may be open to a more meaningful conversation versus just completely closing the door.
Yeah. Not
just to our history, but to further dialogue. How do you actually make change if you're never willing to cross over the aisle? There is an important opportunity for anyone who wants to create a party. It's the independent nominating petition process, and it comes right after the designating nominating petition process. All you need to do is come up with the name of your party. I've even tried to field candidates on the Caribbean party line. I'm in a predominantly Caribbean community. So it would be a path to victory to carve out those votes on the Caribbean party line for a Caribbean candidate and garner their way into the general election race, not just a primary, and possibly seek the win with those number blockings. So it's not just about like party ideology, it's about person. We have to start to shadow those narratives as millennials, as the next generation of leaders, and as the younger youths are looking up at us as we're taking the torch because it's not being handed to us, right?
Of course.
We have to be able to work together. I'll share this in brief also. Oftentimes on the Republican side, the Democrats will come over for a cross endorsement known as a Wilson Pakula, and we often hand it to them. A great example would be, God rest his soul, D.A. Brown, who died, right? He died. There's a bid for the Queen's DA seat, and he's been in front of our committee every single time it was time for him to run. He's been endorsed on 5 party lines in his over 20 years of service as Queen's DA. Now, if the Republicans can cross-endorse, I don't see why the Democrats can't cross-endorse, which is considered... I haven't seen it in the most recent elections. That would be considered a fusion candidate.
Well, we talked about how... I know you want to get to the topics, and we need to because we're like already going on for like 19 minutes. But we did bring up the fact that Republicans seem to try to penetrate Democratic spaces more, and that Democrats don't do it, whether it's listening to the conversations, following the media.
Orange man bad, orange man bad.
So I'm just saying, like, I think we already recognize that there's work to be done in that area, and we've brought that up. So
we have, and yeah, but we all understand, and we also say how triggering because we talk about how, people like to, I think you mentioned last episode that it's like you guys like enjoying trolling the.
Well, Chris does.
I mean, to me, I'm different from others, but there's a difference, but there's trolling. But the reason where the trolling came from, it didn't come out the sky. It came from, like they said, groups like the Proud Boys, and people talk about these groups. Oh, they're white supremacist groups. No, I know. I saw when they got created. They got created because Antifa was going to Trump rallies, knocking out elderly people, pepper spraying little girls. And I got the video footage. If you'd like to see it, you get people out there to know. Antifa and Proud Boys, go YouTube it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Or just go Antifa Trump rallies 2016 and tell me what you see. These guys were attacking innocent people at Trump rallies because they were Trump supporters. And then they said, we got to make a group of young men to defend people at these Trump rallies. So if this group comes and attacks physically, we got a group to answer them. And that's where it all started. So now these groups are getting labeled as white supremacist. And now Republicans are all white supremacists because of these groups. But these groups were created to defend innocent people from radical leftists, who in that whole resist movement that you guys saw as soon as Trump won the election, when even in inauguration, the day of inauguration, they were in D.C. breaking windows, spray painting doors, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So the groups are out there for you guys to see if you want to see them. And anything you see on the right, it can come out the sky when it comes to trolling.
All right, let's get into let's politic.
Yes.
All right. So Senator Kamala Harris just unveiled her $100 billion black ownership plan, calling on the nation to deal with the racial wealth gap. On Saturday she did this, but she proposed that the $100 billion federal program to help black people buy homes. The California senator said the plan would provide down payment and closing cost assistance of up to $25,000 to people renting or living in historically red-line communities, and would also help with like 4 million home buyers. So, what do you guys think about that? Is that like something that would get the people of color to start to support Kamala, because she has like a really, really difficult time getting black people. This is the second Breakfast Club interview. I'm like, she's trying.
She's horrendous.
She's
Queen Pandora.
So what bothers? I'll start, I guess.
Okay.
And it really bothers me that I don't cheer the black woman. It's like it actually it's actually starting to bother me that I'm like I should be really excited. I should be supporting her. I should see myself in her. Like all of these feelings that I should have.
I'm happy to hear the hate
and it
is
really
real on both sides, Maxine.
No, we're just honest on the we're just real on the podcast, and I'm called a wild card for a reason. But the thing is, I call out anybody. We're a little bit different than some others that stay in their silos and don't acknowledge anything. But what bothers me about this is because, and I don't want to use the word pander because I just don't, but it seems to be a very calculated political ploy to target black voters. Because if you actually look into history, this country has, for time after time after time, tried to address this issue. So I don't know.
With home ownership?
With black home ownership.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, it is. We have the Fair Housing Act, I think of 1968. We have HUD. We had, in the 90s, Clinton required FHA to a specific portion of their lending has to be in urban communities.
Wow.
We have the Community Reinvestment Act, and I know that because I work in banking, which requires banks to actually go to minority majority neighborhoods and lend. So to me, it's like she made it seem like there's been nothing to address black ownership, and now I'm going to come save the day with $100 billion.
That's a policy. How does she? How would she see? But I'm just saying, first of all, we have all the things that you've named hasn't done anything.
Exactly.
So this is important because you guys are forgetting that. Like, this is like it's a real thing. It's like, you're going to help me pay for the down payment. That's very helpful for a lot of people of color, especially like our generation.
But is it? I know you want to say something, Chris. I'm gonna just wrap up real quick. But so it bothered me because it may be preying on ignorance, I don't know, but anybody who does their research will see there's so many federal programs, a lot of them failed. So I think we need to ask why these failed. Why don't we fix what's broken already, which is we have all like FHA and all these organizations out there. So I don't know what her $100 million is going to do different than all what we've already been trying to do. So I don't know. I just feel some type of way. And if you actually look at the policy itself, it's going to give $25,000 for a down payment. Excuse me, we live in New York City. That couldn't get you a down down payment here. We need like $100,000. You need to. So it's like, again, it's like selling a fantasy, because what am I buying a 2-bedroom condo in Atlanta, Georgia? Like, what is that? Who is that helping? You know?
And
So
Chris,
I don't know.
what you think?
That's how I
know. She pretty much nailed it. And how where's this money going to come from? Democrats love to talk about spending money. How we're going to give money. Money doesn't come out the sky. We taught when we're 3 years old, you got to work for your money. You got to work. Things don't come to you for free. So they're talking about free college, free housing, free this, free that. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's going to be the citizens who got to flip the bill. So it's going to be black people that's going to end up paying that money back. So it's nice to talk, good talk. But in reality, even when she gets in there, how's she going to pass these policies?
Well, remember when we talked, I remember Carl was saying that, like, America prints new money, all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever they're trying to bail out.
$20 trillion in debt we are.
Yeah, I know. But these are, I think we need to, and then we also talk about, like, how we're spending so much with military defense, where we're not attacking anybody right now. Like, let's take care.
Look what happened in North Korea, though. Trump's first president, how many years ago in North Korea? So the gas military is not. That's a military is part of that.
Totally. But what I'm saying is, we can cut back. We're not we don't have boots to the ground somewhere. We're not like trying to attack anybody. So maybe there is some money there that we can start using for our citizens, for like actual programs that can actually help people.
Well, I do.
And I'm not saying that I agree with Senator Kamala's this policy. I don't think this is enough. I don't think this is a policy. Like, home ownership is a very big problem for people of color, but it's more of an elitist type of suggestion, I think. Like, we all want to buy homes. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. We should all be homeowners. A lot of us should purchase property. But I also think that there are underlying issues that we should be focusing on. Education is a big thing.
So they can sustain.
I think jobs are very important. I think,
because remember, you had the housing crisis in 2008.
Yeah, I think. It's almost like saying, here's a fairy. Like, this is for people who can afford to buy. Like, I'm not. Again, I think it's a good thing. I think we should become homeowners. I don't think this is something that we shouldn't do. But I don't think that's the first thing that she should have rolled out. I think she should have rolled out something that would get jobs. People need to work.
Well,
people
this
need
is
education.
one of her. Let's be fair. It's not.
I know, but it's just this big thing, and it's like, I know she did it, and then she went on like the urban radio station, and she went to talk about it. So and
the credit report. Did you hear about that one too?
The credit report? No.
She was saying that she thinks like paying rent and bills and all that should also be added. Cell phone bill should be added to your credit report as well.
Wait, what?
Because she feels like she sees that as a good thing, because
it will help you.
People are paying these things all the time, and they're not getting any credit for always paying their rent.
Okay,
but it's almost a double whammy, because what about the people who are struggling? But the point is, all of a sudden you have these urban seeming kind of policies
You're
coming
black.
out.
All you guys can afford is cell phones. You guys don't have homes.
But one thing I do want to bring up about
that's what it is.
One thing I do want to bring up, to be fair to Kamala, is she was bringing up the point that redlining has resulted in like households of color getting less, and that's a real thing. So talk about, I don't know, I just feel like that is a real thing that we should address, and our politicians.
She's trying to correct something. That's what she's doing. Because look, we talk about how many times have we talked about sitting here? I just saw someone walk past. You know what I mean? And in Harlem, New York, and a lot of people of color who could not afford to live in this beautiful brownstone that we're in. It just can't. Due to gentrification, a lot of people were taken out of this community to move other places, and then they've lost their homes that they could have, had and created some sort of generational wealth.
Well, but as Maxine said earlier, even she said with Bill Clinton and the bill he passed in the 90s, that bill is what got a lot of black people home at the time. But there are black people that couldn't fit the bill. They couldn't fit the bill because they would say, "Oh, we'll give you this money."
Yeah, it resulted in a lot of foreclosures.
Is
that right?
Yes,
it did. And that's when I went to Georgia in 2008. I didn't go down there because of the housing crisis. My parents were fine. I just moved down to Georgia in 2008. And that's when the housing crisis happened. There's a lot of New Yorkers who are moving down there. That's why I met most of my friends that I'm friends with now. Shout out to Quan and Najib. They were New Yorkers moving down to Georgia. Right. I would work for Comcast. I always bring up Comcast. But I went to a neighborhood. I used to go to neighborhoods down there. And this is when Georgia land was really getting built up as a housing area. And when I would go to a neighborhood, there would be one car and all the driveways would be empty. And there'd be one car. And that'd be the customer's house I'm going to. And I'll talk to them and they'd be like, yeah, there's nobody's living here yet. People haven't been able to afford it. People have to come by and look, but nobody's moving in. This is the
housing crisis of 2008 you're talking about?
The 2008 housing crisis.
You said this was due to...
The Bill Clinton, it was crashed by the time Bill Clinton set it up, but by the time it hit
but then
08,
Bush wasn't Bush the reason that there was no regulations, or what was the thing that I don't think it was a Clinton. It
wasn't all Clinton. It was Bush had his hand in it too. He didn't help out the whole issue.
Yeah, because the banks weren't regular. That's what the whole
thing with the banks. And we had to bail the banks out.
Yeah,
that's the whole.
The banks weren't regulating.
Just to kind of chime in the conversation, the topic. My perspective, I think, on the rollout of her policy, she's viewed as someone that was heavy-handed on criminal justice reform, and so that took away a lot of her likability factor with perhaps the African American community.
Yeah.
So she has to try really hard. That's why you see her on The Breakfast Club, doing urban radio and trying to roll out a super aggressive urban agenda. The incentive of $25,000, as you said, Maxine, certainly is chump change in comparison to what we would need here in New York. But there are some local NGO programs that are actually doing what Senator Harris is proposing. So there are some great NGOs in New York that are offering...
Can you say, for the listener, what an NGO is?
Oh, a non-governmental organization or a 501c3. Any one of those entities that are receiving grant funding from some of the federal programs that are
Trump is doing a lot of that, by the way.
Yeah, there's money out there, and it's certainly getting into the hands of lower income community and persons who may find it hard to get a mortgage.
And it's not as good as it should, though, because Democrats are kind of blocking a lot of that money. De Blasio's pocketing it.
You can get upwards of maybe $25,000 for your closing working with one of the local NGOs. So it's not mirrored out of sort of the air. It is something that you see actually happening now. So to make it a policy or a law, I'd like to hear more about it, as I think our African American communities and low income communities, we often have a difficult time getting those mortgages and not being scrutinized as much as our white counterparts.
I agree with that.
So I think any incentive that can help to not give a handout but a hand up to our community.
I like that. I'm going to take that, by the way. I'm still on that
so
one.
we can sustain. I think the empowerment of our people should be all of our goal, no matter what side of the aisle.
Amen.
I like that. I think you've brought. I mean, I think with what you're saying, I mean, as a conservative, how do you see yourself? Are you Republican, conservative? Like, where do you said you were moderate earlier. What is
Someone said, a very powerful life coach said, when someone asks you, how do you see yourself in the case
political,
of your question?
Politically.
I am Scherie.
Politically?
I am Scherie.
Yeah, I know.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree with that. No, I know exactly what she's saying.
No
I'm Christopher. I'm Christopher. Nice to meet you, Scherie.
Exactly.
Is that how it works?
Like, let's get our goals.
Well, what's the goal now? What's the goal?
Thank you. Okay, next generation. I think it's super important.
I think if we were talking over drinks, I think I wouldn't ask you, what do you see yourself? I think for the show. Like,
I would answer, and that's why it's
We're just trying to reach different listeners, and they want, maybe they see themselves in you, so we just want you to kind of like explain that so they can say, oh wow, that's how I feel, that's how I align.
That is the explanation. It's a powerful way to reflect yourself to others. It speaks of strength, it speaks of openness, it speaks of my whatevers are not going to precede me. Right? Whatever you thought about me before I came in here, it's not going to precede me. I am Scherie. And we can have conversations based on issues that may be important to you or may be important to me. And let's find solutions.
Yes.
Okay.
Because, no, seriously, because I know what he's actually saying, because a lot of times when I speak with somebody on the left, we'd be at a bar or a restaurant, we'd be having the greatest conversation in the world. Just, man, laughing, joking, man, yeah, I went to that event back in we did this in the 80s when I was a kid, having a great conversation. We get on politics. I say the T word, and I say the T word for a reason. You say Trump. I've seen people go from 0 to 10 with the reaction from that point on.
Conversation's
with me.
over.
So imagine if we were to start the conversation with saying, hey, what political party are you? I'm a conservative. Oh, I hate you. And you didn't say, I didn't know, you don't know my name. You don't let me speak. You don't let me, and look, we had, if we would have had that before without the political talk, we would have had a great conversation until we talk politics.
But do you feel like what we're trying to accomplish here is to not have that awkwardness?
No,
in the beginning?
I love that. That's why I'm here.
It's not going to be triggering, and it's like, okay, that's fine. So let's talk about that. Let's see where we're at with it. And it's not like get away from me because you just said you're conservative.
So the question why I bring it up, where I was asking her, how does she affiliate herself politically? I was going to ask you the same thing for you as well. Like, when you hear something like this, how do you feel about this policy? Is this something that you would be like, yes, I'm kind of in this. This is something that I actually can go for, or is this something because she's on the Democratic side, I'm not even interested?
It's not about the Democrat side. It's Kamala Harris. I don't trust the person. It's the person who she is, man. She's okay. But she has a track record of doing
of
this.
What? What is
talking and not getting things done.
What?
And the thing she
did a lot in California.
To lock up black men. She does that very well.
Prosecutor?
She does that very well.
But she's a prosecutor. What was she supposed to do? Wait.
Okay,
but if you're a prosecutor,
Bill Clinton had the 3 strikes law he passed when he was a president. And how many black men did he lock up doing that? That did not help out the black community.
Let's talk about Kamala. Let's talk about Kamala.
Let's talk about
Kamala.
But she's from the same
But
beast.
what do we talk? But no, she's a prosecutor. She had a job to do. If she was you wouldn't be mad if she was a defense.
If you look at some of the things she was trying to get passed as a prosecutor, it was some bills that were like, what are you doing?
Don't pass
like
bills.
what?
No.
What
I mean, as a senator?
What are you bills?
No, I'm sorry, not bill. I mean, but things she was what things she was pushing. I forgot what bill, or not bill, what law or something they were doing with
sentencing.
Was it the truancy? Is that what you're talking about? The truancy program?
What is the truancy program? Tell me what
that she was kind of scaring mothers to get involved in their
there we go. Yeah. There we go. Say that now. Explain that again for me, because I heard about it, but I don't pay attention to all like that.
So this is something that apparently the way the media kind of spins it, she locked up a black woman, black mother, who wasn't. Unfortunately, I think she was sick or something, and that's not the case. No one got arrested. No one. She might have detained that woman to, sit down and talk about what, maybe she had to go to the police station, but no one was sent to jail. You know what I mean? However, the truancy program was, listen, these kids are not going to school. And if these kids aren't going to school, who's responsible for these kids? Their parents. So I'm going to, if you're not taking care of your kids, you're going to be, detained. You're going to have to be arrested because you're not having it's not the kid's fault. It's the parents' fault.
That's kind
of heavy-handed. If I could just jump in, she was heavy-handed in her sentencing, and I think that's to Chris's point.
Yes.
And that is all. She has to now answer for that, and I think that's why you see her roll out this aggressive urban agenda.
But when we say she's heavy-handed, what did she? Do we have a case that
they're saying that
she gave them 30 years?
She was heavy-handed. You didn't have to do all that. Is what we're trying to say.
So listen, you guys, at the end of
you don't think so. You don't agree with. So you don't think that
doing that. That's because that's going to allow harsher laws and harsher punishments from the government. The government's going to go harder with that over time.
In our current educational system, we should have parental contracts that requires parents to participate in their child's school at least 2 days a week.
Wait, so you're saying...
2 days out of the year. Sorry, parents.
So you agree with her?
So you kind of agree. So what are you saying here?
In the New York educational system, where we have our schools in today's society still segregated, I would certainly call on our parents to get more involved in their kids' life. And if I was an administrator of the school, or say the chancellor of the school system, I would certainly implement a policy that requires parents to lend themselves to the school at least 2 days out of the school year. So however her policy, the truancy clause that you guys were just talking about, I don't know the details on that, so I don't want to compare that to this. But in terms of our education and how we really target that, and if we're thinking about the future of our kids, we have to come up with
some kind of
smart suggestions, smart solutions, things that can drive the needle in the conversation, not just the continued talking points, whether it's from the left or the right media. We have to sort of take shape and take charge.
Yeah.
and sort of lead by those examples in the things that we say.
I agree with you.
So
I'm sorry. I know, Maxine, you want to say something. I just want to say something because I just looked this up with the Kamala Harris. So it was basically education for her. It started in 2010. She had this clip, a video clip of her, where she basically said that this is her exact quote: "I believe a child going without an education is tantamount. I don't know what that word is. Tantamount to a crime. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy." I think for you might see it as like, I mean, what do you have a problem with it? Because I honestly kind of think that parents have to be more involved in their kids. And my mom and my dad, well, my dad was more so like, your mom, listen to your mom, but my mom was like, she was involved with my school. She was going to the parent teacher meetings. She was involved. She knew all my teachers.
Because she could.
She couldn't.
To be
she couldn't.
Oh,
she's an executive. She would go
but she
work.
had the privilege. She wasn't standing in front of a cashier for 8 hours and couldn't leave. I'm just saying.
No, I'm sorry. You can't. That's your child. You have to find a way to be involved in your child.
Can I just chime in?
It's not hard.
Wait a minute.
Just chime in?
We're gonna come together on education.
No, but you're coming together on Kamala. That's
I'm coming together with you in this Politricks podcast. This is where our ideas are materializing, and should we ever want to take them to the next stage, it was something that materialized in this
space. No,
So can I just
your great work?
Can I just say a few couple points about Kamala? So to your question earlier, allegedly, her sentencing in with respect to her peers or equivalent situations was harsher than others.
So
that is the claim. No, meaning the prosecutor prosecuting this crime in whatever, in Texas or Jersey, whatever it may be, in the same situation, the same thing, she was allegedly being harsher on them.
We'd have to.
I don't know. Hold up. So I just want to put out there. I honestly haven't done enough of the background. I don't know if she was being harsher on black men versus white men. I don't know, but she pissed enough black people off that there must be something there, and I have to look into that.
Well, that's why she doesn't.
Can we look into that before we say that? Because you're living a blanket. Like I am.
I
don't want to disagree with what he's saying about she's harsh, and we have no facts.
But there's
where's
data.
the heart? Where are the facts?
I just told you the fact.
I want to know the facts, but they don't. I want to hear that. I want to know where is the data? I want to know exactly what are the crimes.
You can look up her history of everybody she ever prosecuted.
Exactly.
So
somebody. The point is,
I'm saying there's a lot of black people who don't like her for a reason. And she's a nice looking black woman. There's no reason for black people to love her to death. Who's run as a Democrat? Why do a lot of people don't like her? There's a reason why a lot of black people don't like her.
Because she's a prosecutor.
That's why.
No, that matter.
But her way of prosecuting was very harsh.
She would. No one would.
In the black community,
they would be like, she's mom. She's auntie.
Yeah, and Bill Clinton had 3 strikes law. Good for Bill Clinton. He's a good guy. He did 3 strikes. He got a lot of black men locked up. I love Bill Clinton, right? No, that's not how it works.
Can I just make one more point? So I just wanted to say to Kerstyn's point, I don't know. I will look into it, but I'm saying that's why I started with saying allegedly. I'm not saying it is the fact.
Please.
Allegedly, that is what is the reason for people being frustrated with her. The truancy thing, as a mother of a child with special needs, and I'm literally pulled him out of DOE because I've had enough. I don't know the circumstances, but as somebody who is a single mother without any help, I do. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah. You're breaking up a little bit.
It's breaking up a little bit. I don't know.
About that.
I don't know if it's the microphone.
But I feel like we don't know the circumstances of what happened. We don't know what the kids would if they had learning disabilities. Maybe I'm just saying to immediate. I know you're the parent. It's your responsibility. We don't know what the parent was dealing with. We don't know if the child had a mental illness. The parent had a mental illness. Like we don't know what was going on in the household. Maybe the mother was being abused. Like there's so many things that were going on.
So you're saying.
So I'm saying, can we just have a blanket of sensitivity here that we don't?
I do, but you're not. For her
to do that. For her to just say, these kids aren't in school and it's the parents' fault, and I'm going to put this sentencing on them as the first. I'm not going to say it's the first thing.
That is heavy-handed.
I don't know if it was the first thing. Maybe she tried other things, but I think what I'm trying to get at is maybe we could have addressed it many other ways. Maybe we should have figured out what's going on in the household, what's going on with the parent, instead of immediately criminal.
So bring the law.
I agree.
But
nobody went to jail.
When you bring the law,
no one went to prison. Nobody went to prison.
Yes.
But however, it's. I'm sorry.
people don't like the approach she took. That's what I'm trying to say.
But she also scared. She scared people. She scared these parents. Like, oh my God, now I got you. Gonna
Bill Clinton did
think about this. But that's what it's about. It's like don't do crimes. Don't do crimes.
But okay,
don't
marijuana.
Do crimes.
When you smoke marijuana 3 times, get caught, you're going to jail for 30 years. You think that's okay?
I don't think it's okay. But I'm just saying that
that's not okay.
These are the
and that's
rules
what she's doing. If
these
you're being harsh, because you're being too harsh.
These are these
but you can't be harsh with the laws. Then you need to talk
fair
with the laws.
You need to talk to your
be fair with the laws.
Judges.
This is different, though.
Talk to your conservative
They're
judges.
doing a great job. I voted for my conservative president for the conservative judges. Thank you, Trump. Shout out to Kavanaugh.
A crime wasn't committed in this case, but I just
everything they want these harsher crimes. They want to keep the black people in.
No, they don't. They don't want 3 strikes. That was Bill Clinton locking up more black men than any president in American history.
That was a
Bill Clinton did that.
They were both, but it wasn't like he did it. It wasn't an executive order. Senators on both sides had to vote this in.
Yeah,
like, what are you talking about?
It was a bill sponsored mostly in part by our current VP candidate, Biden.
Yes, but you also, once again, there's also Republicans who also were supportive. It wasn't just
Democrats cross over the aisle. However,
but you guys, we've talked about the time period and the crime situation. So we've talked about it ad nauseum on the show.
I don't like that he brings it up because it almost makes us feel like it's like...
Your party does this over and over again, though. That's why I keep bringing it up.
Okay,
how much times in history you got to repeat?
So let me repeat it again. During the 80s,
just like your
let me repeat it again. How about let's start with what we learned from Emmy, what he explained to us when he told us about the aides that were part of the Nixon cabinet who were systematically targeting people of color. How about that? That said, the way to eradicate people of color and hippies was to infest them with drugs. How about that? If you guys,
we definitely talk about that, and I bring that up, and I say there's members of my party that did bad things in history.
Okay,
but your party in general did bad things to black people in history. You guys never did nothing for black people. What policies did Democrats pass that benefited black people in history? Name one.
You can't. I will. Just give me a second. But I want to continue. I want to start. I want to start with this.
We've been voting Democrat for the last 60 years, and they've been doing nothing for us but killing the black family. That's the only thing your party's done for black people. Kill the black family. Thank you, Democratic Party.
Not necessarily. That's.
We were the strongest black family before we were Democrats. Now we're not. What happened? We started voting Democrat. Not a coincidence. Do research.
The word Democrat is what's against people of color. You're saying the Democrat because you're a Democrat, you're against black people.
The agenda of to be a Democrat.
It's so ironic to hear you guys talk about this because I'm from Southeast Queens, and oftentimes it's just the opposite, right? So they'll ostracize you because you're a Republican. So it's interesting to me to hear just the inverse. It's just remarkable how we have all been poisoned by politics, and it is Politricks.
Very true.
That's why it's called Politricks.
Yes. I think we need to channel our great energy. I think we need to take it and put it into where it's most needed.
I think there's a lot of frustration on both sides.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're talking passionately, but we also see. All I'm saying is that we also have to know. Like, you want to know that you want us to talk about the history of the Republicans and knowing that black people started the Republican Party or part of the Republican.
No,
but we know that. I just told you. I even told you. I
the abolitionist movement.
Absolutely. My descendants are John. One of my ancestors is John Brown, one of the abolitionists. I did all my history. I know all of that. Yeah. But what I'm saying is,
our kids aren't taught that history, though.
That's again.
Liberal education.
But that's why
we don't articulate it in platforms like this. We denounce it.
Right.
We don't embrace it.
But can you answer? Because you talk about the 3-strike policy over and over again. Can you please answer? Can you answer to the fact that the systematic eradication, because you have to understand, black people went from slavery to Jim Crow and then to drugs. That's basically, and then now jails.
What about Black Wall Street? You skipped over Black Wall Street, and the Democratic Party burned that down. So
the Ku Klux Klan burned that down.
And they were Democrats. Who started the KKK? The Democratic Party.
Fair.
Thank you for saying that.
Fair.
Yeah.
But just like Margaret Sanger, friends of
the KKK as well, who started Planned Parenthood.
But now Republicans now don't like Planned Parenthood. It's
of
like
course they don't. They shouldn't, because Planned Parenthood kills more black babies in a year than in New York City than are born. There are more black babies in a year. But what I'm trying to say is that if we go back to history, let me say real quick, listeners, listen. There are more black babies in a year getting killed by abortion in New York City than being born. That's the lady, Margaret Sanger, who started Planned Parenthood, who loved the KKK, who was in the Democratic Party. And look what they're doing to our people to this day. They're killing black babies. Wake up.
Okay.
And families.
Yes, and destroying families. Can't forget that.
All I could
Possibly our most heated argument.
Make America great again.
Yeah, you know
Make
what?
America great again.
No, we've never had. It's never been this way.
On the topic of the families, right? It's like we have the Democratic legislative body, and I don't reference people as party, right? Like, that's just not my thing. But we have the narrative on the national perspective focusing more on children that are brought to this country versus the children that are here in this country.
Well, that's
we should have these conversations.
Yes, agreed. And I think, you know, a lot of this, there's a lot on both sides. We can't, like, if we couldn't start by, because you would say one thing started.
Both sides are wrong.
100%.
So many times in history.
100%. 100%. But you can't come and attack just Democrats and not attack the Republicans too, who have just as much to do with a lot of the crap that's happening in the Black community. You have to. You can't. You can't just say. You can't say the Republicans are perfect. Their hands are clean. You can't.
I'm sorry. Just to point, we're here in New York. When you say the Republicans, New York City specifically has really 2 elected officials, and they're only city council members. We have no elected officials on the state or the Senate.
The governor.
We mean federally. We have not even listeners everywhere.
We're not even talking
on the
New York.
federal level.
We're talking, but
anywhere.
We're talking everybody.
Our listeners are all over the country.
World.
Just to be clear, right? Like, when we do talk about demographics and we toss out those numbers, it's important to really identify the space in which we're talking about it.
Well, we can talk locally. We can talk, you know what I mean, like state by state. We can talk federally, but for everybody, we're trying to appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
And for us, it's just important to understand that yes, there is bad on both sides, but right now we're looking for help.
You know what this made me just think about? How little I think most people understand the political landscape, in the sense that knowing what your federal versus state versus local does. Because, for example, I'm not trying to come at you, Chris, but you said, you know, Democrats ruined education. Like, that was one of the things you said. Just let me finish. And without realizing that a lot of times the resources, the boards, the administration, like all those things that are funneled down, curriculum, a lot of that is at the state level. So if you had, say, a red state that's, or, you know, Republican governor, Republican senators, and they have some of the worst, I think, I don't know, Alabama maybe, like the worst
education.
You can't.
Worst.
Can you really say Republican?
No. Are you surprised that they're voting? The
point I'm trying to get at is, but the Democrats can do it as well, where we say, oh, Republicans screwed up all this, you know, like defense, for example, like you guys did everything defense. Like,
actually,
so the point I'm trying to say is that I think this just made me realize, and I'm self-aware of it now, that we probably all don't really know as much as what is really federal versus state and local. And if we knew that, then maybe we wouldn't have this broad brush over certain things, and maybe challenge everybody here as well as the listeners to do that education, so it isn't just the Republicans have screwed up all of this and the Democrats have screwed up all of that, and really look and see, well, actually the 10 years this happened, that was actually, you know, a city council person that's Republican, or a state senator who's a Democrat. Like, figure it out at that sense. So that was just my little like spiel I wanted to put in there and challenge everybody to do. Fair?
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, like, so I'm just sorry to jump in. You mentioned the demographic, and I just want to peel back to my point, which is that here specifically in New York, we don't have a Republican majority on any level. So a lot of the problems here in New York, if we want to point fingers to a political party, and I think this speaks to the point that you just self-realized, that we could say it's the Democrats' fault because they've been in control. This is a blue state, right? We could look at Chicago. We have majority elected officials in Chicago on the Democratic aisle, right? We can say that's
look
the
at Alabama and say,
you know,
fault. Alabama's education system, no one's educated. We could say that's Republicans'
fault. But that's the point I'm trying to say.
It's not you. We can't pinpoint. There's this binary system really is what's messing up everything.
Yeah.
I almost feel like maybe there needs to be a thing where there's no political party and it's just people, like, because voting.
Just voting.
Like, just regular, like, I think because
Seriously.
this thing of like, I don't like this, it's just, who is this person what he's saying, does this make sense for you? No, next, this, because then you're always going to be, every time someone stands in front of you, you're always going to say, well, he's Democrat, so I don't like him because he's Democrat. We can't do that.
It's modern day
we can't
slavery,
do that.
guys. Let's have that conversation. It's modern day slavery.
All right, let me try to get one more topic in before we go. Do we want to go into this Cukor thing or census? All right.
Census.
You want to talk about census?
Well, the president just issued an executive order, right?
Yeah. So I think it's actually going away. I think I just saw on Politico that it might actually not be happening. There may not be. He may not be able to.
No,
do
he's
this.
not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, I just read that.
Well,
I just read that.
Yeah, but do you need to do your?
So let me just do. We're gonna have to, unfortunately, because that might be. Do you want to do women's
No, I mean we could do that. I'm just saying. Do you want to do your opening? You usually give the background for the listeners. Yeah.
No, I'm just because now that I literally read it. I'm coming here and saying
we can talk about the update.
Okay, so then Trump is considering an executive order to allow citizenship. Question on census. Is that necessary? Do you think that's something that we should have?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Why do you think that?
Why do I think it? Because if you're a citizen in this country and you're doing something that relates to keeping track of who you are and the number, you got to be American. You're not American. Why do we got to take your name down? Why are you a part of this? I can't go to any other country in the world.
No, I don't see a problem with this question. I know people don't want it, but I don't see why. Is it because it just now puts you on a target list?
Yeah, that's what they're concerned about.
We're like in concert. I mean, it's refreshing. I'm sorry.
That happens here a lot.
Go ahead.
We are not voting for Trump.
People,
By the time we're done, Chris, we'll have them saying something a little different.
We're working on it.
People are concerned that that's how he's basically going to do his targeting of undocumented people. Like it's the way he's going to get it done.
Yeah.
Which is concerning to me. I think that what I was reading about, like why do we even have a census in the first place? Like why do we have this central data system or repository? One of the main purposes is the central data for the government to know what's going on with its population and people. It's how resources are distributed. It's how we figure out like how many House representatives we have. Like it's really important in that sense. And so when you think about was he trying to find out who's documented and who's not to figure out the resources now? Like say one area has a lot more undocumented, we're going to now give you less resources. Like I just kind of wanted to understand what was the underlying point that he was trying to get to with doing that, like
I think it's just data. I mean, census is boring as heck. Like,
and
it's
like,
just
who's going to actually admit that?
Yeah, I mean, some people don't even let you in the door. They don't even let you like get the information. They don't even send in their forms. They don't most people don't even do it. So technically, it's like do it if you want. I personally don't see an issue with it. I really don't. I think
now if someone knows you're undocumented, where you live, and
but guess what? You should that's not like this is like he said. With that, I can't. You can't.
That's fair.
To me, I honestly understand. Like if you're an American, just like I check my sex, like. I don't think we have to like trivialize every single thing. It's almost like, and if he's doing something like horrible with it and he's trying to like take out the resources, there's more black people here. All right, we're not going to give them any more resources. There's more Spanish people here. We're not going to give them more resources.
No, but the undocumented. There's more white. This is the only new thing.
I get it, but census we've had it for years. I'm sure they've done it I'm sure black people, once we knew you were black and you were in this community, it's like, okay, we don't need to go there anymore. Like we'll focus on this place. Like we do understand that this is always like this is how they get their information. So
to my knowledge, I think the decennial census, there was only one instance, and I think it was the 2010 census where the question was not asked, are you a citizen of the United States?
Oh, so it's always there?
So
no, I thought it wasn't.
It has always been there, and that's a part of the argument in the Supreme Court, that the argument that they brought to the Supreme Court was already on record, and that's why the president issued the executive order, because of the fact that those points that they brought to the Supreme Court was already on record.
So why did the Supreme Court rule against him?
The Supreme Court ruled against
Trump. Do we know? Because I was actually trying to look that up and find that out. Like why?
I think
it would just slow down the process. I think
they were saying like the constitutionally driven question. Like, and
the reason that they gave wasn't substantive, and the Supreme Court deferred them to go back and come up with a better response
for why they wanted to ask
exactly. And the president said that would then delay the process.
Got it.
Right.
And that's why he issued the executive order.
But the update is that he said, I don't need this anymore because I'm going to pull all of this information from a bunch of different agencies we already had. And he said he feels that he's actually going to be more accurate in getting this information on who's undocumented and who isn't from all of these data sources we already
Can I
have.
ask a quick question to everybody in here? Can I ask a quick question? How do you feel about undocumented people living in the country? Do you feel like they should be? Because now we have, well, this is another topic, but I don't want to go.
We talked about. Remember we did the jobs one. And
no, but I'm asking because we have a new guest here. How do you feel? I know Chris.
Lock them up. Straight up.
Don't lock. Just have them go home, but not lock them up.
You said you had thought differently if they were refugees or different.
Yeah, refugees are definitely. There's instances where people like Christians in the Middle East get attacked in their radical Islamic country, and they're getting killed, and they get escaped from that country. Yeah, definitely. Come if you are not a crazy criminal, you're just a Christian, innocent person getting attacked.
A Christian, but if you're a Muslim, is it okay to come?
If you're not a radical, but in the Middle East and a lot of countries over there, they're in that radical Islamic type stuff, man. Iran, Saudi Arabia,
can a Muslim
you got a vetting system.
Vetting system.
Yeah.
So the president in his executive order, I just want to kind of share this with your listeners. He says, to be clear, generating accurate data concerning the total number of citizens, non-citizens, and illegal aliens in the country has nothing to do with enforcing immigration laws against particular individuals. It is important instead for making broad policy determinations.
Allegedly.
Well, no, it is actually.
No, I'm saying allegedly that they won't use it for deportation.
It's for the reappropriation of funds to the respective congressional district. It tells the federal government how many congressional representatives you need to have in each district. So it's not just about, are you a citizen? Like, there's other questions on the decennial. Like,
no, yeah, we're
how many
not saying about that
do
one.
you have in your house? Like,
I don't
those
understand that.
things are.
What are those questions for?
Girl,
they have these random questions like, how many people live in your house? What?
Chris, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, because this goes back to like when I say sometimes I get confused when you talk about conservatism, and like I think one of the tenets of conservatism, my understanding, is lesser government, right?
Yes.
But then there's sometimes when there may be conservatives that support something like, and I feel like isn't this very big brother to you? Like, I don't know, like how do you feel about him saying, I'm going to get this information, I'm going to find it from all these different resources? Doesn't that worry you? Like, he wants to like round up this collective data to try to find this information. It seems very like big brother, big government to me.
No, I mean, definitely what it seems, but if the main thing he's doing, if it's been around forever, this country's been doing census for a long time, and he's doing it now with specific questions that relate to citizenship. I mean, I don't think anything's wrong with it. So
you're like, it's okay, my president could do whatever he got to do to find out citizenship.
Yeah, pretty much. Because there's people here that are legal citizens that work their butt off to get a green card, and they're getting skipped over by people sneaking across the border, putting their daughter up, as mules, getting raped to do it.
I was born in Jamaica.
Oh, cool. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Curious. That's beautiful. All right. I think we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to get into this really quick. You think we can get into this topic with this YouTube employee? I just want to get her opinion on it. I'm really interested. So Christopher Cukor, I guess his name is, a YouTube employee who is a white man, and his son called the police on a black man, Wesly Michel, a software engineer in San Francisco. His defense for doing so was he's encountered trespassers in the building, and they've been robbed a few times. So he said this is not uncommon in San Francisco that bad actors are in all different colors. And then he also doubled down when the police arrived and said that Wesly was threatening him and his child, which didn't happen. We saw the video. I don't know if you're familiar. Did you guys see the video?
Yeah.
With the video where I didn't get to see the video.
Okay, so you didn't see the video. Okay, so I'll explain to you the video.
It was hard to watch.
It's hard to watch. It's really the boy that breaks your heart because you see the innocence and he's
like, Dad, I agree with him. I want to go. He's
like, Dad, I agree with him.
To watch you
really see compassion in a child, and you see an adult that's but we find out later his father was murdered from a black man.
But a trespasser, he was saying.
Well, it was like he's mentally ill, the person that killed his father. So that's why he has this like trepidation every time he sees a person of color. So I guess that's what.
Oh, is that what he said? I thought he said someone who was like trespassing in the same.
That's a triggering thing to see a black person in this space, so like his community. Like if you don't know. So long term, I want to get your opinions as quickly as possible. Let's try to get this good. Let's try to get everybody's opinion.
Yeah.
Let's start with you. What do you think? He didn't see the video, so it's going to be hard for him.
Nah, I mean, I bet I got to just.
But overall, the theme,
just like Maxine said, it was very. It was hard to kind of take in the little boy saying, "Daddy, let's go, Daddy, let's go." You know, I mean, that is going to have some lasting effects on the child, and I do believe that the dad may need to seek his own help. Because if that is just listening to you and even taking in the story in advance of coming in here today, I just said, wow, you know, there is a mental illness component that someone's not recognizing if he's just immediately triggered by this, and now he's actually doing this. It's just natural for him to do it in front of his son. He doesn't hear the child. He sees the child, but he doesn't hear the child. And that blockage, I think that stems from what happened to his dad in 2012. So.
Right.
But what about this overall theme of like calling the police on black people that aren't doing anything?
Right.
Well, that's
standing around.
My only thing is this. That's, of course, that's wrong to call the police on anybody who's not doing anything wrong. But there's been white people out there who've been hassled by the police. There's more white people killed in a year by the police than black people. And if you really cared about police and there's issues with police in America, you would report every single case of somebody white, black, Hispanic, Asian that gets done kind of not the right way by the police. So when you say, hey, let's do something about the police forces, focus on and make it a better police force, everybody will come together to fix it, not just black people getting angry. But they just want black people angry, so they only talk about when it's a black teenager, usually male. And when that happens, so black people get all stirred up.
But in this case,
so let's talk about this case for a second. Yeah, let's talk about this. We're just talking about if you are in a building that you're just waiting for a friend
in the front,
and the person upstairs sees you and says, "There's this black guy in front of my building. I don't know. He's walking back and forth. He seems like he's got a gun. I don't know." Should you be hassled by police officers because you look suspicious because you're black, and that's triggering to this person who doesn't understand that, you know,
it's a free country.
It's not your.
Because he was asking him, "Who are you here for? What's the person's name?" And the guy's like, "I don't have to tell you that." And he's telling the police on the phone, he won't tell me the person he's coming to see. Who do you think you are?
But you don't, unless you own the building and you're the property owner, then it's a different type of story. But if you're renting or if you live there, like, dude, like there should be like you should respect this person's space.
I mean, if this guy is triggered, like mind your business with caution. I feel like that's the mood for 2019.
Period.
Mind your business with caution. If somebody makes you uncomfortable, get out of the way. Don't do anything to get you in an unsafe position. But still, at the same time, mind your business. Like,
of course, but that's just unfortunately.
But I mean, I know what you're saying, because we don't want to make it seem like only this is a case where only black people, because this is what becomes news. However, it has become we don't even know how many before the videos. We don't know how many cases have happened where they just take a black person in and put him in jail. And he's like, "What? I was just waiting for my friend." And then a friend has to come and say, "Hey, no, I'm his friend." And it's like, "Oh, okay, well, get out. But next time, don't be, loitering."
Like, how is that legal to do all that?
It's just, or why make me uncomfortable? Why take me out of my day? Why? You know what I mean?
If I could chime in just a little bit, I think, in addition to the mental health component, in addition to the trigger, and it's not being okay for you to discriminate against someone, I think that, and I'll share this in last with you guys, I think it's our responsibility to implement these changes that we talk about.
I agree.
If we want better policing in our communities. Let's encourage our young men and women to become police officers.
Thank
right?
you.
If we want a legislative body that reflects the ideology of us as African Americans, or us as poor people, or us as immigrants, let's get those people into office.
Thank you so much. And also,
and that's why I want to add
that
the
real
question.
quick.
Okay.
I told blacks all the time, if we could put it into black on black crime, that will end up a lot of issues in the black community.
Go ahead, Chris.
And what
Wait,
that
what?
and
What's
what
your
that
question?
End black on black crime,
is
you said.
yeah, put it into black on black crime, and then we will get to the point as a black community when we come together, and when the police even come into our neighborhood, we'll be looking at them, what are you doing here? Because we keep a clean neighborhood here, we don't commit crimes. What do you guys come in here to give us a hard time?
That's
the best way to fight the whole police thing.
I
is
understand,
to keep your neighborhood clean.
but if you're in a white community.
Like now you can't.
You're not
be in
allowed
that
to.
space.
Are we not allowed to be in a white community? Is that what you're saying? Black people should stay in their community.
No. But we have communities where it's mostly black people.
How
Make those
how does
communities
that change
the white
when I
people's
go to
fear?
when I'm still okay? But if I'm still going as a get, my friend invited me to her house.
Because we could say as black people, we have rights. What are you guys doing here for not breaking the law? Then
And that's what it is.
As a community, we can hold it down. But if we kill each other every day, that allows cops to keep on cruising through the neighborhood looking around because you guys kill each other every day here. My job as a police officer is to protect people. If you're killing people here, I got the right to be here. But if the neighborhood is clean, you don't got the right to be there.
Okay, but now what if you invited to a friend's house that's not in the black community, and they're saying, "Wait a minute, this isn't."
I've never seen you before. Where's your paperwork?
Can you? Is that you can continue that policy?
Are you a citizen?
No.
But this
is not 1903. I go to white neighborhoods all the time growing up, and I was the only black guy walking around, and and I got accepted and loved. It was no and cops didn't come driving around cruising, and cops didn't come cruising around every day because cops were like, I'm not going to go to that neighborhood. Nothing happens in that neighborhood. There's never
do you know they're
crimes happening
proposing
in that neighborhood.
laws that it should be illegal now to do this calling the police on?
I think that's the question. The question is, should it be a misdemeanor or some sort of crime? Because the thing is, it's like it's two things.
Harassment.
You think it's two things,
isn't it?
but you think about two things here because it's like one, this person now is like traumatized, right? Because like we forget this man, he's a software engineer. He's not like a bozo. He's a smart man. He's just visiting a friend who was in a wheelchair. Like, why would you put me through that stress? Why and then turn around and say, oh, he was threatening me. And in the video, it never threatened him.
Right.
But you know how many times that happens to these people of color?
Yeah.
How many times they threaten me? He was the aggressor. And then at the end, when he found that he was wrong, he became I think he threatened me and my son. He started cursing, so it hurt my feelings. You attacked this guy.
Right.
Thank good for body cams. That's why I say thank good for body cams.
But there was no body cam. What I'm trying to say
it should be on, and that's the
There's no police there.
Put a body cop.
Yeah,
you have to watch the video.
There was no police there.
I'm going to show you the video.
The guy's just calling them on the phone.
He called.
So the police never showed up?
At the end, when the video was over.
The issue is that he shouldn't have called the police on
Do
the
you
man
feel
who
like it's
wasn't doing
fair
anything.
that you keep calling?
There's going to be people calling police. I got to call the police on me twice for playing football in the street in my neighborhood because old white people and my white friends were playing with me.
Why is that okay?
No,
because it's just people are nosy. That's
fair.
how people are.
That's fair.
People are
because
always like
that's
that.
a fair thing. Because if your next door neighbor is playing music very loud, what are you going to do? You're going to probably call the police? Like,
how about walk over to them and say, "Hey, you guys."
I do it.
I agree too.
I do it too.
No, I do it too.
My neighbor is not nice, and
but I
my
do it
neighbor
too.
will tell you this is New York City. I'm allowed to do
would you call
whatever
the
I
police?
want.
Would you call
whenever? The silent majority will pick up the phone and dial those numbers.
Yeah.
But Chris, to counter your argument, because you always say, there's more white people killing, but that there's more white people in this country, the population,
Very true.
and there's more white on white crime than black on black crime. Is there not?
I never looked into the exact numbers.
If there's more white people in the country,
but black people commit 52%
by
of the
numbers,
crime, and we're
but
13% of the population.
Right.
But I'm just saying, by numbers, there's more white people in the country, so there's more overall white on white crime. But yet, I don't naturally fear white people.
And that's a very valid point. Why, for this man to say, this is another thing that I wanted to bring up. This is something we should think about, and I want to close the show so you can have your final moments. What we forget, what this person said, is his father was killed by a black man, so it triggers him, right? Now, what do black people get triggered by? What do we get triggered by? We literally walk through this.
Well, it's police.
We get triggered by everything. Like we are the second-class citizens in the country. We are made to feel. We're not supposed to be, but we're made to feel.
The word?
I don't know. What's the word? What word would you use?
No, that is the right word. That is and you can tie that into the blockage in which that didn't allow him to connect with his son, doing something so horrific in front of your child.
Right.
That's not a good example of a parent.
Yes.
That's not what you want to teach your child to. How do you handle your problems? If there's an issue, my first response is to pick up the phone and dial the police without incident, without it being warranted. So that certainly is not a good example.
But what about the idea, and this is me playing devil's advocate, what about the fact that if he's just saying, I don't want to have to, the police are supposed to come in and do this job. They're supposed to come in and like mediate, right? So he's not a mediator. He's just he has an issue. This person I've never seen him before. Maybe in his mind, he's like, I need someone to come mediate this because I don't know. But he's not thinking about like his person's life, right? Like this person can
and how he's making him feel.
Yeah, he doesn't care. It's just like, this is an issue. I don't know. I need to fix this.
What happened to his father, in my opinion, is still having a profound impact on him. And I think that's a sign for help. Yeah. And I hope that he gets the help that he needs so that he doesn't feel
I love what she's right.
That he has to call the police on our brother.
All right. So on that, I'm going to, end this episode. It was very heated. Usually we don't get this heated.
My son would be like, what? But
we all,
it's all love.
It's all love. Like we have we're always, even though I know that our listeners are going to be like, oh, that Chris, it
was too much.
I
hope they can hear us.
I love you all too.
I know.
I hope they can hear us.
I know. Try to listen to us.
No, I mean, because we were over each other.
I know. We tried. All right, so we're gonna end right here. Thank you for listening to the Politricks Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know what topics you want to hear us talk about next. You can email us at politrickspod@gmail.com. We're gonna thank you. We have to say a special thank you to Scherie. Scherie.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's French, my Scherie.
Oh,
my darling.
Okay, my Scherie.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to break it down.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Scherie.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to being back on.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and when you make your announcement. And I'm Kerstyn.
I'll come back and make the official announcement.
See, we got more of her. All right, I'm Kerstyn J on Instagram.
Maxine.Outerbridge.
Everyone's favorite conservative in New York.
Hey, and Scherie Murray, you guys can follow me on Twitter, SCHERIEMURRAY.
All right, have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Adios.
Ladies and gentlemen.